Look at that. Brian is completely out of it. Is it, he put us live. We put us live on Facebook, but it didn't make me the host. So now we don't have any recording of it.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'll be the host. Houston, we have a liftoff.
Yeah, this is the Pork and Bean Show, everybody, and Brian is in a state of panic. Uh, and he has, for some reason, the damn show is not being recorded. That means it's going to be live on Facebook, but I don't know about the hopes of it ever making it all the way over to YouTube. Well, anyway, we do friends of the Sasquatch people,
Oh,
and the Sasquatch people say that they live in the all one and no space,
all one and no space. Well, that's interesting.
which I'm assuming is something similar to. I mean, it made a big assumption, but it's something similar to um, being in a type of unity consciousness.
Yeah, those terms are loaded. Um, Actually, all terms are loaded. Unity consciousness assumes that there's such a thing as consciousness. And when we think, I think, when we think in those terms as consciousness being an actual thing, and it can be studied, and it's separate from other things, I think only confusion reigns. Uh, Things, separate existential entities for us, exist only in the naming of them. And when consciousness or awareness or actually anything is thought of as an actual entity, that's the objectified overlay that the brain mistakes for reality. It's lost in its own consensus
Hold on a
conception.
minute, Michael. Let me interrupt you.
Okay.
In in Brian's haste and panic at losing money because of of our President Biden,
Ah.
I'm glad we have a president because we can blame things on him. But anyway, he made you the host.
Oh yeah, well, I kind of like that.
If you're the host, then you can press the record button.
Oh, okay. Where's that at?
It's right next to the screen share, sort of off to the right,
Off to the right.
the bottom of the window.
Okay.
Little screen shares in green.
Oh, okay. Screen share. And I push that.
No, not screen shares.
Oh
Press
no.
to the right of the screen share is the next button over is called record.
Okay. Say, well, no, let's see. Open system. Oh, Jesus, I'm lost in system preferences. Now let me get out of that. Next to,
This
okay,
is going to be in the Zoom window.
record.
Yeah,
Okay,
record.
so record,
This
and I
is going to
push
be recorded to your computer.
record to iCloud. Oh,
No,
to this
record.
computer. Okay,
Yay.
there we go.
Yay.
Now
This
we're recording.
Mike Carroll and Michael Markham live on YouTube, live on Facebook on the Pork and Bean Show. That's where we are. We just got finished completely crashing the show because I was going to try to make a connection between the all one and no space that the Sasquatch say they're in and the phenomena known as unity consciousness, which Michael Markham is a spokesperson or a commentator on.
Yeah. Um, I forgot what I said earlier. Um, Let me see. Oh, yeah. The idea unity consciousness is loaded. It's saturated with preconceptions about consciousness and unity. And when you think of when we think of consciousness as an actual thing separate from other things, that can only lead to confusion, more confusion. We assume that consciousness is a thing that can be studied, but we would have to use consciousness to study itself. And there would have to be two consciousnesses then. I think that's the fundamental error in objectified thinking, that we can understand things, that we can know things, when things exist only in the naming of them. There's no such thing as a mountain. There's no line around a mountain. There's no demarcation between a hill and a mountain. One time I posted that a mountain has to be at least, I'm guessing 1,400 meters tall before it can be called a mountain. And I did that just to get the idea that a mountain doesn't exist. There's no line between a mountain and a valley. Those are all lines that we draw over what we see as a manifested universe. Every sentient organism lives in this world that's highly evolved, survival and reproduction based. We evolved to survive and reproduce. That's our bias. That's our reality as human beings. We have an objectified reality of a world composed of named objects, and we mistake that for reality. And there's no such thing as reality. We live in that relatively small world of objectification, but it's so beautiful and so unique to be human. We can talk to each other. We can share our lives and our stories. We can share beauty and love. Human beings are the only place in the universe where love and beauty exist.
So far as we know.
Well, there's
Actually,
nothing.
it only exists inside of one human being.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, whatever it is you think you feel out there, you actually feel in here.
Of course.
So, the feeling of wind blow, even though it's blowing everywhere, is felt by you in here.
Of course. Yeah, we're confined within this beautiful objectifying brain. The world, the only world we can ever know, swirls in our own synaptic gaps. The stars, the galaxies that they've discovered behind galaxies with the new telescope. And I'm sure they'll discover galaxies behind those. Only human beings can ponder those things. It's so wonderful to be a human being, but it has a downside. It has the struggle to find out who and what we are. Inquiring minds, monkeys have an inquiring mind, but ours wants to dive deep.
So do chickens.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So do chickens.
So do chickens, yeah. Every sentient being wants to explore their world. It's beautiful to be alive and to be a human being. But like I mentioned, it has its downside. It can lead to Great Depression. It's the best and the worst life has to offer. Those of us who are familiar with depression and anxiety attacks and guilt and shame and all the human things, the downside, the dark side of the moon. But the other side is this joy and awe of simply being. Once the brain grasps its own charade, something can crack open, and somehow the brain knows that it's created a pseudo reality on top of what appears to be a physical world. I think the world exists.
So you're saying a dream within a dream?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, those are just words also. Words that are trying to reach a deeper meaning when there is no meaning to life. There's no meaning or purpose to life. It just happened. And that's just another idea, too.
Well, there's one thing that is interesting about the people who talk about unity consciousness, and that is that there's not really a definition. There's not really a separate thing called a mistake.
Mm.
Mistakes. And see, when I invited you to come on the show, there's another fellow. His name's Mike Marcus or something like that, and I thought he was you. So I'm thinking. I'm listening to you because we're friends on Facebook. I'm reading what you're saying about the mind and the illusion and all that. And I go, wow. And then I see the other guy, and he's talking about Sasquatch, and I thought they were the same people. So I thought this would be great. This would be great to have you on the show to talk about the qualities of unity consciousness and Sasquatch.
Mm.
I think but I realized like a couple of days ago that was not the case. But then I watched one of your videos and it was just fun. It was just a fun video and kind of full of love and stuff. And the Sasquatch people are full of love and they can go invisible and they can go back and forward in time and things like that. And they say to them they kind of let me know without words. They're very big on communicating without words. Well, they let me know that they live in no space, and no space means there's no space between A and B. And if there's no space between A and B, then I am you and you are me, and there's no time. And
Mm.
those are some of the descriptors that they kind of showed me that they live in that kind of a space, or they can go to or function in that kind of a.
That's interesting. I think that any combination of thoughts will not take us to where we imagine reality to be. Um, I don't believe in any form of reality. I think that's just another concept. I think the human brain is incredibly creative. It is so majestical. So I believe it's the most beautiful thing in the universe. There's no reason to think there's anything better or higher than us. I see no evidence for that. I see us as the apex, the outer edge of consciousness. Again, speaking in the common lingo of the land, we are the growing edge of consciousness itself. We are.
Even though there is no consciousness.
Well, no. Of course, yeah. Yeah, we have to come back to language all the time. That's the fallback.
The language is a failed ambassador of meaning.
Is that the truth? But assuming I don't believe there's meaning. And our meaning, the only meaning to the universe is what we place upon it. And each of us are unique. We each have a unique or are a unique world of memories from probably in utero on until this point. You just by speaking to me, you have become woven into who I am. Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? You have entered my.
I am you and you are me.
Yeah, we are each other in the deepest sense. again, that seems to be speaking of unity consciousness, which I try to avoid. But one human alone is no human. If you isolate a human, they go insane. They need a mirror. We are each other's mirror. We dance in each other's light, holographic figures dancing in each other's light. Uh,
Holograph, there you go. Some people call this reality a holograph.
mm,
There's this one physicist guy, I think Dan, forget what his name is, but he says that this reality is an icon on a desktop.
mm.
Everything that you see is just the icon, is access to move around on the desk on your desktop, but the actual computer and circuits and the electrical and electricity and all that stuff is way beyond seeing from the screen of your and then there's he's actually got that fleshed out pretty good with you know
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the mind can invent these wonderful stories about what it thinks of what is happening, and they're just stories, reflections of reflections, really. We'll never understand. Understanding is a misunderstanding. We don't understand anything. We don't know what electricity, light, magnetism, gravity. We don't know what they are. We can describe what they do and how they act and measure them. We don't know what they are. We can never understand anything. We can, relative in the physical reality, actual
yeah,
physical
but
world.
on the other hand there is a knowing. uh, I was around the what do you call it, the UFO contactee and then the near death experience people. And
Mm,
one of the things that they say is when they go taking on a craft or they're in this in between state of being in alive and dead, they go up into heaven and stuff, and they say that they come to an experience where they know everything. So
mm,
I think that that's not translatable into words, but I think that that is an available experience to people
mm.
to know everything. And in a way, I thought some of the unity consciousness people say, by knowing nothing, that is a type of knowing everything.
I suppose you could say that. If it doesn't mean anything to me, I think that knowing is an illusion. Um, we like to think we know, and we get the impression, the brain does get the impression that something can be known, and that even that we know everything. To me, it's a sublime unknowingness, uh, knowing that nothing can be known, and even that is an assumption. We are locked in this world of assumptions. Everyone is. Um, that is, we are defined by and confined to this beautiful brain's self-referential memories. That's who and what we are. We cannot escape that. Somehow the brain can relax in a sublime unknowingness and drift along with whatever arises without personal intent. Choice is an illusion. Um, to think we have choice is in anything in our life. We didn't choose when to be born, where to be born. We didn't choose our parents. We didn't choose our occupation. We didn't choose anything in our life. We don't exist as personas. We are a mental fabrication, a hologram. The brain can relax into simply being, and that is what is thought. That's all that in what is thought of as enlightenment is a brain relaxing into its sublime unknowingness, drifting along with whatever happens. I had a stroke and I was on the floor wiggling and the lights were going out. And my thought was, oh my God, I've had a wonderful life. And I could feel my body twitching, or the brain could. And I thought I was dying. And then I thought, oh, my wife has to find me on the floor. And I felt so sorry for her. We do love each other very much. 60 years we've been married, and or we've known each other 60 years. And so that's my thoughts at the time was, my God, this has been so wonderful. I've done so many things. I've been blessed with old age and all of its pains and maladies. But most people, a lot of people die. But in Rome, the average age was 24, evidently, before they died. No, I'm close to 80. So, geez, I've survived quite a few things and been lucky. Not lucky. I don't believe in luck, but it's just glorious just to be, just to look at your face, wonder about your story, wonder where you've been, wonder who you've loved, wonder if you're, how many times your heart has been broken, how many times you've wept so hard you couldn't breathe. The humanness, the the smell of you, that just the gloriness of being human is just, oh God, it's just overwhelming. A brain delighting in simply being without ideas of what life is about or who or what we are, who or what anything is.
Well, I'm kind of glad you tossed in the word belief because it's a big deal and a big contention in the Sasquatch community because Sasquatch doesn't like to give proof of their existence. They like to remain hidden. So there's a huge division in the Sasquatch researchers and Sasquatch friends over what to believe and what not to believe. And for me, belief is like an act of war. You know, you believe this and you have to defend your belief, or you're going to attack somebody else's belief because their belief threatens your belief. So there's this struggle going on, and
Yeah.
then so belief and proof kind of like is a fool's game. I think you could almost do a whole show just on denouncing the validity of what a belief is and what it does for you. Not to mention it's a liability rather than an asset. I
Mm.
think because like you can talk about non-duality as having no beliefs, but then on the other hand, then you go on to talk about being absolutely inclusive of all beliefs because
Mm.
that's what's there. You know, it's that's what the illusion is there. So anyway, I think beliefs is a big deal because they are one of the rudders of
Right.
separation. You know, when you cut the water with your rudder.
That's true. Beautiful analogy. I see us and the brain's belief as the same phenomenon. Um, I see beliefs as an attempt to describe. They're not really things at all. They're an attempt to label. Um, they are an attempt to put a rudder in the water uh, to guide this imaginary ship. Um, to me, it feels no longer like a little captain at the helm barking orders at the ocean. uh, I just drift along. Um, my wife says, "What are we going to do today?" And I say, "I don't know. What do you want to do?" She says, "I don't know." So then it's all open, and then we'll say, "Oh, I need some flour. I like to bake bread." So, well, let's go get some flour. Okay, let's go get some flour. So, what do you want to eat? I don't know. Well, let's go. She'll say something, and I'll say, okay. It's drifting along. Just it's like in the Sargasso Sea, just drifting along in the calm. We're headed. The moment we're conceived, we start plummeting to our own death.
Hmm.
We're
Well, I would say from my worldview, from my like past history, is that uh, we were born crying, and we don't really start dying till we stop crying. When you stop crying, you start dying.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
it's true
they.
because there's that uh, both the rage against the constriction into a new life
Mm,
and the rage at being pulled away from a unity of another life.
mm,
There's that whole thing there. It's not until that is finished that you start the upward and downward simultaneous progression of time.
mm. It's interesting. They at when I was born, they would hold a baby up by the feet and spank him, and they wanted to make him cry so they could breathe. That was normal. Now the baby's born. Before they cut the umbilical cord, they hand the baby to the mother, and the mother cuddles it and says, "Welcome to the world, little one." Um, they don't circumcise as much as they used to. That hurts a baby very much. They go when they cut the foreskin off. This cuddling and welcoming to the world, I think, helps a great deal. Although this generation is kind of different than ours. Well, I'm older than you, but there's something in human beings. Some I see, and I think we differ on this, that no other place in the universe does love exist. Love requires imaginary separation. I have to be separate from you to love you. I have to imagine that I'm separate. Um, we have to live in a world of objectified entities to love them. A rose, I love roses. I love flowers. I love cactus and succulents. I just started a little dwarf Japanese maple. I love it. It's so beautiful. Uh, that doesn't exist in other animals, this awe of beauty and shared beauty. We share our beauty with each other. I point out poppies to my wife, and she says, "Oh, poppies!" Or this sharing that human beings do. This it's so uniquely human. Um, People say their dogs love them, and they appear to show all those qualities, but they're really just being shown their inferiority. They're lesser in the pack, and they lick your face because they want you to regurgitate food. They roll over on their back.
I don't know about that. That's a little bit of a stretch.
Well,
To
it is.
project that they don't actually experience love, because if there is only one thing and that one thing has a component of love, then everything's got a component of love.
Well, I don't think there's only one thing. I think that's just another thing that combines all of imaginary things into one big imaginary thing. It's not all one. That's just the brain trying to make sense of it all. It's trying to construct a belief it finds can make its restlessness settle down. Um, there are no separate things, so there couldn't be one big thing. Mountains aren't separate from each other. Rivers are not separate from each other. The Missouri River disappears into the Mississippi. They should call it the Missouri-Mississippi River. But they don't. The Missouri River just disappeared. It never was. The Pacific Ocean is not separate from the Indian Ocean. It doesn't have a
And
line.
water and rock are never separated except when it rains. Water's always touching rock, and rock's always touching water.
Yeah. Well, that's that desire for unity again. We want to put all of the things in a pile, and that's one big thing. That's unity consciousness. That's just my hand's sticky now. I have a cough drop on the table. I hate sticky hands. um, um, that's funny that we get hung up on something. This idea of unity is just a human idea. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as consciousness. There's no such thing as things. All our beliefs are about things, and there are none. We're not a thing. We're a mental fabrication, a beautiful mental fabrication, a hologram dancing in the imaginary light between. I get glimpses of my own beauty from you.
Hmm. Well, in the Kabbalion, they say all is mind and all there is mind.
Mm,
And but that they I don't really think that there's I don't think it would originally say mind. I think it just is just that's the creative force, but they just call it the all.
the awe.
They don't really have a definer or a qualifier.
When you say, I mean, I think all it's all mine, is that everything known in the world exists in your brain to you. That's your world. Your world is different in my. You are alone in your world, in your unique world. Your words, your meaning for everything is different than mine. Um, we have a dictionary between us that we can agree on the meaning of words. It's easier for apples and trees and rocks, a little bit harder for consciousness, love, things like that, that don't actually have a physical existence. Um, Somehow we can communicate with each other across this great imaginary space between us. And that's amazing. I think I think we can become amazed at our own amazement without any beliefs and knowing that all beliefs are about things and there are no things. And even that's a belief. We cannot escape belief. We are belief.
That's what I was going to ask. Eventually, I was going to ask you that
Yeah.
because like well, you got to be tell the truth. Well, no, except that there's no truth. But you got to tell the truth even if there is no truth.
Oh, yeah, there couldn't be truth. What is true in nature? What is untrue? Truth is a human concept. It's just meaningless, really.
It's
There's,
also polarity.
I say that again.
It's also a polarity. Everything has this polarity component to it in the mind. Is that there's truth, and truth is a spectrum that goes over to lie. So lie and the truth are the same thing. It's just a matter of degree. So there's truth, and in the middle of the truth, between the truth and the lie is a balance. But there's actually four parts to a polarity. There's the truth and the lie, or good and the bad. The good and bad with the balance in the middle. But the fourth part is neti, which is not this, not that.
Nothing. Yeah.
And to me, that all kind of makes sense. I don't know, uh, and you can live in any one of those four points, four polarity, or live in them all if you wanted to. But to be stuck in truth is would be a cruel punishment.
Ah, truly. Um, Assuming there is such a thing as truth, assuming is that there's such a thing as anything. Um, it's possible to live in a world of beliefs knowing that they are illusory. Have a foot in both worlds, and the sublime unknowingness, and embracing the world, the shared consensus conceptual overlay. Having a foot in that. I just went to my son's 54th birthday with his four children from two different marriages. They're all loving each other, laughing so loud. I had to put earplugs in because my ears are incredibly sensitive. And so I had to put earplugs in. So I heard a muffled laughter, outbursts of laughter and joy, hugging and touching. Um, my youngest granddaughter, 8, was tired and crawled up in my son's lap, and he embraced her, and she rested her head on her chest. I put a picture on my website. I was listening to this muffled laughter and joy and sharing, uh, adrift in the floating down this river of human song and love and laughter. And I thought, oh, I hope when they have children, and I'll be dead by then, when they have children, I hope they all get together and laugh like this. But then that's my own imposing on what I want, what me. But we cannot escape that. We are that. But we can live drifting down the river at the same time, embracing our own wishes and desires and know that they mean nothing. Oh, it's so beautiful to be human. Your hair must feel nice on your neck when you do this. I can only imagine what that feels. Oh, it's beautiful, glorious. Um, just you and me sharing, having come together from who knows where. I don't know where you live. I don't know anything about you.
I live on the East Coast.
Ah, okay.
About 4 miles that way is the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh, wow. Nice. Yes.
But you're on the West Coast somewhere, right?
Oh, we're on the central coast of California, halfway between Los Angeles and San Francisco. We live on the ocean. Like I can see it from here.
Holy
uh,
mackerel.
yeah, uh,
Nice.
it is nice. Behind me is what we call Strawberry Canyon. It goes on down to the ocean. In the morning, we hear seal song and waves crashing. Um, it's almost always 72 degrees here. It's delightful. Little community, 6,000 people. You go to the grocery store and hug. Takes you hours to get out of the grocery store. Well, we used to be able to. And I miss that. I embrace everything about my humanness, my desires, my midbrain, which I never could control. um, Everything human. Walt Whitman said he loves the smell of his own armpits. I love Walt Whitman. I love being human. I love everything about it. I love getting old. I love the gentleness that comes with old age. I can smile at people, and they don't misunderstand what I'm after. I see beautiful women, but I no longer want them. I want them to be happy. As I get older, that compulsive desire goes into almost a overdrive. Uh, it's everywhere I look. I see beauty. I see homeless people. Sometimes I give them money. Sometimes I do not. It's just doing, just going along with whatever arises. It's so easy. I struggled my whole life. I wanted to know what was happening, who I was. Frantically searching, I read everything I could, and non-duality and Advaita and poetry section and philosophy section and Eastern religion, Western religion, everything. I read everything.
I failed at everything I did. That was pretty cool.
And so
Kind of,
you did not.
kind of just roll with it. If you know you're going to fail at everything, so just roll.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not like you're going to get anywhere.
Sorry, I have a chronic cough. Yeah,
How does one get a Vedanta? How do they get there? I mean, that's
yeah. Where are you going to get anyway?
did you make it? Failed terribly.
Failed terribly. Yeah. Oh my God, that failed so much in my life. Um, yeah, it's the people who get up after being knocked down that I love. They get knocked down and get back up. They get knocked down and they get back up. Enter the fray. I love it. I love people. I see heroes everywhere. I do. Life beats us down. It's merciless. It could care less about us. It doesn't even know we're here. It's not even indifferent. It's just what? It's just life. I mean, it's hard. 100 million years, much longer than that, billion years of struggle to get to this point. We are on the top of survivors, a long, long line of survivors. Our ancestors had it really hard. Medieval Europe, and say Ice Age Europe. Jesus Christ, we have such a long line of survivors behind us. We're the
And
we're,
my friend Jenny Jablonski, she's an animal communicator and she's kind of psychic and stuff.
mm,
And I was gonna try to show off, and I was talking about my past life stuff, and I asked her. I said, "Do you remember any of your past lifetimes?" And within a bat of an eye, she said 7.2 million.
7.2.
There was no hesitation, no thought. It was
Yeah,
7.2 million
7.2, give or take a few.
lifetimes. I mean, so
Yeah.
I didn't act the fool. I didn't finish my approach, or what was it, showing off.
Yeah. Oh my God. You say only 7.2, huh?
And I could probably actually count maybe 12.
Yeah. God. Yeah, I don't.
We've been playing this game for a long time.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The Sasquatch, the rocks, the trees, the air, everybody. They've all been playing this game. Rudra, you ever heard of Rudra?
I have not.
Rudra is a really cool god, and he's the god of creation. And then he does this thing called the Rudra's roar. And it's his roar, that brings uh, out of the void the creation of stuff.
Mm. Ah.
That's the story, and and then when he stops roaring, it all just dissipates again,
Mm.
and then he has to roar again, and
Or
then
again, yeah,
yeah.
creative.
So we're
Yeah.
in the 84th roar of Rudra. That he brings the whole of the entire universe into manifestation with his roar. It's like a really long roar.
Oh
Basically,
yeah.
there's a vibration in the universe,
Yeah.
but they always like to personify things. Religious like to personify, deify things.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that means we have this whole universe of the billions or trillions of years, and this is the 84th incarnation of the universe. Happy birthday.
Oh, I didn't know that. um, yeah, I this beautiful what? I tend to believe all beliefs are just beliefs about imaginary things, basically meaningless. They hold no water. I think Rudra is an attempt to dive deep into the creative ability of our objectifying brain. Your brain literally creates a world, the creator of a unique world. Your world is different than my world. Biblical text says, "Ye are gods." Your brain creates a unique, objectified world, full of beliefs about it, full of beliefs about its origin, full of beliefs about its characters, full of it's so colorful and beautiful and unique, and when it's it's uh, it's the best and the worst life has to offer. But it's just beliefs. No belief holds water, and even that is a belief. Even that disappears in this sublime awe of simply being. Um,
And as soon when you say things like that, then the idea of teaching or awakening
mm,
kind of loses its kumbaya. You know?
mm,
Let's
true.
celebrate our awakening because there really isn't.
Yeah.
There isn't. There isn't a path to an awakening. Not really.
No, you cannot get to a peace.
Or to God realization, or to unity, or any of that. There's
Nothing.
not really a path to that or a process.
No.
And the same goes, I believe, I dare to say, that the dimensions, the big dimensions, the fifth dimension, the 12th dimension, the ninth dimension, I'm not really sure that they're actually what we think they are.
Hmm. Nothing is what we think they are. Nothing. They exist in our only in our thinking about them. Mountains exist only in our naming of them. I grew up in the Tetons in Jackson Hole, and every mountain has its own name. And I knew all the names, forgotten some of them. Um, some of them they changed. One of them was named Mount Owen, but they found out that Owen, who that was named after, was a child molester. So they decided to change the name of Mount Owen to Middle Teton, I think. um, so it's no longer Mount Owen. I don't know what happened to Mount Owen. It was just a name, I guess.
Yeah.
Tetons are not.
Did the rocks disappear or
Yeah, as a mountain
that
that's.
would be something.
Yeah.
But there's people who believe in magic and think that that would actually happen. And maybe it would. I don't know.
No, well, I think any belief, like we were talking about, doesn't hold water. Any belief about anything. There are no things. There are just beliefs about things. That's our world. It's a pseudo reality. Um,
I have a story about the Grand Teton Mountains.
ah, okay.
When I was about seven, we were lived in, I think, six or seven. We were living in Denver, Colorado, and my dad put us all in the car, me and my two sisters and mom, and we're gonna drive up to the Grand Teton Mountains,
Mhm.
and so that's a really long drive from Denver.
It is.
So I was just like kind of half asleep in the back seat. I was sleeping, and it was a long, long, long drive. And then my dad pulls off to the side of the road to go look at the mountain, right? And then the doors open up, and I was in the back, so I opened up my door, and then I stepped out onto the ground. You know how you have to navigate around a door. I stepped out onto the ground, and then my focus went fully onto this great purple mountain range,
Ah,
and it was so beautiful, I actually fell down.
ah, oh my God.
Just to be able to just that with the full impression, I guess I was gates were open, when the full impression of that mountain hit my being, my knees collapsed and I fell down.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah,
Oh God,
that's
beautiful story.
I was only able to reproduce that one other time in my life was looking at a sunset in Florida, and I said, "What happens if you really open up to it?"
Oh,
So I started to open up to this beautiful sunset, and then I started to do the same thing. You couldn't really take it. So I backed up into a tree so that the tree would support me. I had a three, like, 2 feet in the tree, and
wow.
then I opened it up. And yeah,
Ah,
you could actually pass out from ecstasy from just looking if you're ungated enough
yeah,
to let in the beauty of what's going on.
truly, truly. Yes, I'm suggesting that it's possible you couldn't live in that; it would be unbearable. But it is possible for life to.
You couldn't live in that because it would be unbearable. What is it this that we're living in? That's kind of unbearable, isn't it?
Oh well, sometimes it's so. I look at my wife sometimes and I think, God, how deep does this love go? It's just I just enthralled by her. Her gentleness, her kindness. She can't say the F word. She can't. we joke about it. She just can't say it. She doesn't swear. She doesn't. Not that swearing is bad. I swear a lot. I grew up in a swearing society, but she's just so gentle and non-judgmental. I just adore her. But I see her as beautiful machinery. I see toddlers as beautiful, highly evolved machinery. I see myself as beautiful, highly evolved machinery. It's just a beautiful world. Is how a brain can take in the beauty of everything around it, the complexity. And I'm looking at my carpet and I wonder how they make that. Somebody had to figure out a machine to make that carpet. And I'm looking over at a digital clock that says it's 10:47. I thought somebody had to make that. Everything is amazing. Then I look at your face and I get lost. It's a living Rembrandt. Uh, Rembrandt was trying to capture that in light, but he couldn't do it under 2 dimension. But I have it right in front of me, a living, breathing Rembrandt. Um, it is like that, but a gentler constant. My son and I were, he was 10, and we were walking through the redwoods in Northern California, up through a little trail, light shafts coming down, a little creek and ferns. And it was too beautiful. I had to look up to get away from the beauty. Like you said, it overwhelmed. And then these cumulus clouds streaming by, the huge tall trees. And I looked up and I said to my son, I said, Dad, I have to go. I can't take anymore. And then a little butterfly comes along. And I thought, Jesus. So we wound back down to the car. Yosemite, that happened also. I don't know if you've seen Yosemite, but it's too beautiful. El Capitan, the river that flows by. We were leaving in Long Shadow part of the day, and a fly fisherman was out there doing this glass river. It was just too beautiful. And he felt it too, both times. He's that a sensitive man. I'm not saying I live in that world, but I say that it is possible to live in a world of constant awe, including your own pain. You don't embrace pain, that's silly, but you realize as your body gets older, it accumulates pain. I have 7 doctors, and I love them. They keep me alive. I talk to them like this, and they're human too. They're just like us. I don't know. I'm enjoying this conversation more than I can say. I have no idea what I'm going to say.
Yeah, and it's kind of for the people who are just tuning in. This show is like a divine mistake from supposing that Michael Markham knew anything about Sasquatch. However, he's talking about an alternative reality, and the reason why I think this is important, maybe really important, is because we can only understand our outer reality by self-referencing it. You have to have some kind of something inside you to give reference
Mm,
to that. I mean, like you were talking about love. There's people who have never actually felt much of a depth of feeling of love,
mhm,
and so they can't really self-reference these kind of almost holy glimpses into a an all-encompassing kind of a love that um,
mm.
is right off the bat. She hit the button.
Oh, no, I didn't. Let's
That's
see.
Brian, Mr.
Oh,
Brian
somebody, somebody must have stopped it.
is back.
He's back.
And we're not recording this onto anybody's, we were recording it onto Michael's hard drive. Anyway,
Ah,
self-referencing, alternate experiences of the human life. And this is what the deal is with aliens and with the Sasquatch people and a myriad of other kinds of beings that's floating around out there, trees and rocks, is we can't really understand them. There, unless you have a mechanism to understand with, and
mm,
that mechanism is self-referencing. So um, and this is why people have a hard time with Sasquatch because they feel Sasquatch is separate from them. But
mm,
if they really looked at what who they are, they're going to see that same thing in the Sasquatch people.
mm.
That's my theory, anyway,
I think that
or a dog for that matter.
yeah, we it's so hard to tell what's going on when we are part of what's going on. Um, I think everything we see is a facet of who the brain thinks we are. Um, I would, from this belief system, that Sas, uh, Sasquatch, other entities are facets of who you imagine or what you imagine life to be or what your brain imagines or tries to find meaning in its own pseudo reality, in its own world. It tries to look out into a world of its own construction, of its own fabrication, and make sense out of it. And all it has to do, all the tools it has to do that are its own mental fabrications. And it's incredibly inventive, incredibly creative. And it will try to create overlays that help it reach into a deeper meaning. And it has no deeper meaning. Its deeper meaning is its quest for deeper meaning. That's it. The cave paintings with hands on the wall saying, "Here I am. This was me. I was here." Same thing, this longing in every human being to make sense out of their life, although my wife doesn't. One time long ago, I said, "Do you ever wonder what's going on? What's happening? Who you are?" She said, "No." And I don't think she does. Only a few of us are compelled by life to figure it out, to try to make sense of it all. And we can do that in incredibly creative ways, all of which reflect back on ourselves. The world is a reflection of who we are. Sasquatch is who you are. That's a facet, a belief about it's a mirror cast out into it's living inside a huge ball of reflective mirrors, and everything you see is yourself. Everything you think is yourself. Aliens, past lives. I used to believe I could leave my body at night and have out of body experiences. For 10 years, I did that and lucid dreaming. I had the most wonderful adventures. I could go up through the, push my way through the ceiling, sit on the asphalt, feel the asphalt shingles on my butt, and shoot off into outer space. And I really believed I could do that. Not once has one person ever been able to leave their body and go into the next room and find four numbers.
Well, that's debatable because I have some friends who have done things like gone to visit a friend, and then the friend says that they saw them.
Mm,
Uh, so
yeah.
I don't, and then there's the remote viewing people who
Mhm.
make it their business to go into the next room and find the four numbers. So I'm not really sure if that belief doesn't hold water.
Yeah. Well, if it were,
Maybe it does. I don't know. Your experience is your experience, and you were kind of arguing that experience doesn't necessarily mean proof.
no, no. If it were true, if it were possible, everyone would believe it. Um, after years, Thomas Metzinger is a famous German scientist who had an out of body experience, and with his scientific background, he really studied it because it feels so real. You cannot believe how real it feels. I don't know if you've had one, but I did it for 10 years. I got out hundreds of times, really, or thought I did. But he has this wonderful theory, and I think it's in the ego tunnel by him that he explains it pretty well, what how the brain is able to think that it's leaving the body, and it creates this world within a world. When you have a dream at night, where does the light come from? Where do all the people come from? They're inside of you. They're inside of the brain. All of those people. I have fighting dreams at night. I kick ass. I grew up in a violent household. Yeah.
Hey, I kick ass.
I kick ass. I fight. My wife has to wake me up sometimes. Um, this peacefulness that I live in does not go into my nighttime dreams, which I think shows how shallow it is, how shallow enlightenment is. It's also part of the dream. Um, but back to out of body experiences, I no longer believe that it's possible to do that. If it were possible to prove that in a scientific experiment with conditions that they normally put on a double blind study, uh, somebody would do it, but they haven't done so under scientific conditions yet. They talk to friends about subjective experiences, and that always seems to be proof. A 4-year-old child will have a dream of heaven, come back, and they make a movie about it. um,
Well, there is data being collected. And there's things that are being done, like I said about the remote viewing,
mhm,
and it may not be like 100%, but if you get five remote viewers targeting the same topic, the same subject, then they get up into the high 90s of accuracy, which is kind of interesting. So
mm,
theoretically, you could be in your kitchen or in your bedroom, and
yeah,
you can do an ant that's on the other side of Mars, 100
mhm,
years ago. And you could report that, and if there was some way that you could check on it, it would be there. So that's kind of an interesting. So the whole remote viewing is like a double, triple blind experiment into the psychic phenomena of being beyond the physical, you know,
mm.
energy body.
Did you ever hear of the Amazing Randy?
I have heard of him, yeah.
Yeah, he for 15 or 20 years he offered $1 million to anybody who could prove anything in the psychic realm, bending spoons. He didn't care what it was. If you could prove anything, um, life before, life after death, life before life, if you could prove anything, he would give you $1 million. Um,
Proof is the rub.
well, that's the closest thing we got is a scientific method to prove things.
Well, there's two kinds of ways of doing it. One is by, like you say, a scientific method, and the
Mm,
other one is from data collection, because there's been a big study in the last, I guess, 10 years between, I think it's India and someplace like Thailand and the United States, studied um, people who are children who remembered their past life. They
mhm,
remembered who their name was, and they remembered where the village where they lived in. And then
mm.
the scientists could go out and check out that this person at this day and that, and so on and so on and
Yeah,
so on. And
yeah,
that's pretty compelling because of the amount of data that they collected that all collaborated. So there's data, which is
yeah,
not the same
yeah,
as the experiments like pouring, acid into alkaline and it fuzzes, and that's
yeah.
an
There's
experimental.
that. Did you hear of Bridie Murphy, the book Bridie Murphy?
I have, yeah. I don't think I read it though, or know what it's
It was
about.
a young lady who had a past life in Ireland, and it seemed to be proved. I believed it, but it was. totally disproved. It was just totally, it broke down. Uh, I think the world is fantastic enough without all of that speculation. We have no idea what's going on. True, we don't. Um, but to say there's anything beyond this is, I think, pure speculation, pure wishful thinking, maybe. This is fantastic enough for me. This vast world of trees out there producing
Well,
oxygen.
you're talking about boundaries, really. How big is this that you're saying this is? Is it this little skin suit that we're wearing, or
Oh,
is there something that we're connected to?
we don't know. We can't know.
Okay, there you go.
Uh, but to speculate, to extend our boundaries is just that. It doesn't mean our boundaries are real. Our boundaries are just boundaries. Um, and to say there's something beyond our boundaries, we can never know that because we are defined by boundaries. I'm just suggesting that the world straight up, just as it is, without any speculations about its deeper meaning, other entities, past lives, um, future lives. It's just meaningless to me. I'll listen to stories, but to me, they're stories. It's all stories. It's all stories all the way down to me. This world is enough for me. This love for my wife, for you, is enough for me. I don't want any more. I don't want to live forever. I don't want to live after I die. To live forever would be hell. Confined to a personality for eternity. God, forgive, I take, will say no. Past lives automatically indicate future lives, which indicates future lives, which indicates living forever, and that would be hell.
Which indicates Rudra's roar.
Yeah, roar. He's every breath you're creating the world. Every morning you wake up, the world, your world is born again. Um, Everything is new. We're stepping off the cliff all the time into a vast unknown unknowableness. We never know what we're going to say next. You don't know what your next
Well,
thought will
let
be.
me ask you, because you're such a window into an alternate perspective.
Hmm.
And it could be argued that you could be called an atheist because you don't believe in God, or maybe you do believe in God.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how that would play out.
Yeah. I don't believe in anything. I don't believe in belief.
Don't
And
believe in
even that's a
myself.
belief.
I don't believe in myself.
No, myself is a mental fabrication. This is my brain talking to your brain, or what you think of as your brain, and what I think of as my brain. But it's not my brain at all. It's just the brain, scintillating synaptic gaps, exploring the world through the illusion of self.
Well, the quantum physicists say that they've come to the conclusion that everything that appears to be real and solid is made up of stuff that uh, cannot be called real or solid.
No, no. Yeah, we didn't evolve to think in plasma physics terms. They have trouble. I talked to the head of the Department of Physics at Berkeley, which is the best physics university in the world, best known, most sought after. He was the head of the physics department, very tall, distinguished looking man. And I said, did you know what Einstein meant by E equals mc squared? He thought for a while and got a painful look on his face. And he said, no, no, I don't. He said, I think maybe Einstein may be the only one in the world that did. And he said, I'm not sure Einstein did either. But he was pained that he couldn't get the relationship of time and space and light, the speed of light in relation to the earth, uh, that they were interrelated. He couldn't get that. And both time, space, and light are mental fabrications. They don't actually exist. So that was the painful look on his face, knowing he had reached the edge of his ability to objectify. And that's where our world stops. My infinity stops at, I would say, about 2,000 miles. That's about all I can think of. But I cannot think of infinity. We didn't evolve to think that. We evolved to survive and reproduce, or to live long enough to reproduce. That's what evolution chose us for.
I don't know if that's true or not.
When people say that, I normally say, go to your room. No, you're right.
Let's eat. I tell you what, I have no big issues with saying that there's a God. And I have no big issue with saying that there is no God other than the concept of God.
Oh,
I have no issue with either one.
okay. That's beautiful. But when you say there is a God, that's say that God is a thing, and God is a thing separate from other things. Things have to exist only in imaginary separation.
The force of forces.
That's saying the same thing and trying to justify it by putting another label.
That's, I think the Hebrew something in the about they were talking about God as whatever they were trying to call it, and then they said it was the force of the forces. Which makes sense. We take the force, like the force of the wind or the force of lightning, and we personify that force, or the force of the universe, of the Earth spinning around, or the force of the galaxy spinning around, or the force of light, and we give those, anthropomorphize them and give them human attributes.
True.
So there's the god of the rain, there's a mountain god, there's a earth god, rock god. I talked to a rock god once for 3 hours. That was really interesting.
Oh, yeah. Life is interesting, constantly surprising. I find that the brain surfing its own false reality, falling down through its own imagination and its own memories, constantly surprised at what it happening. The surfer goes into a zone when they catch a wave. That's why they are addicted to it. Some of them would rather die than never surf again. And when they get that wave, and that 2 or 3 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever, they lose themselves in the wave. That's the zone that the athlete goes to. Actors get into it when they get on stage. I'm suggesting it's possible to live in the zone, constantly surprised that, and I was saying that you don't know what your next thought is going to be. That should tell us all we need to know. We never know what we're going to say.
Do you ever have people just scream at you and say, "What's the matter with you? Don't you wake up? This is it."
Yeah.
Smash their hand on a piece of wood or something.
Well, I have talked on several sites, and some people really get pissed off at me, and I hate to say it, but I enjoy that. I like to rattle cages. I like to question beliefs. I like to play. It's like Otter. I had a pet otter once, and all he did was play. The whole world was for him to play with. It's kind of like that, like an otter mind. It's just play. What are we going to do today? I don't know. Do you feel well enough to go outside? Say, I'm feeling pretty good. So let's go get a Subway sandwich. Okay, let's go. Oh my God, it's just, and then I'm surprised at who I meet. I talk to people behind counters, and there's a black man walking across the parking lot, and he had long, beautiful hair, all in those little curls. And when he moved, they swayed like this. And he was kind of dour and pushing his cart back to where. And I opened the cart and I said, "Your hair is beautiful." He said, "What?" I said, "Your hair, it's beautiful." He said, "Thank you, man." I said, "You're beautiful." He said, "Oh, thank you, man. You are too." It was beautiful. It was play. I was playing. He was playing. For a second, he broke through his whatever he was thinking about. To have this old man open his door and say, "Hey, your hair's beautiful." Oh God, it was so beautiful. And he moved into my world. He became part of who I am. I did hospice work for years. All of my patients became part of me. The love, sharing, the openness, um, the it's beautiful, and that's the way I share with everyone. I tell them I love them. I tell them I think they're beautiful
Well,
because I.
there's that component. My son, who had like what if you can't use Unity, I don't remember a one type experience. He had a little vision of that one time, and he was described it as like the ground of being is actually absolute inclusivity and unconditional love. And
Oh,
that unconditional love thing is, you can argue all you want about the other stuff, but that unconditional, unqualified love is kind of what seals the deal. And this is something that the Sasquatch have, and they can manifest that
mm,
for humans, and I think some other animals might be able to do it too. But
mm,
since we're kind of engaged in the Sasquatch phenomenon on this podcast, I
ah,
just want to throw that out there. So whenever you're talking about loving or being in love or giving love or showing love, that's one component of this. Uh, One of the things that the Sasquatch can do, they have this great animal, um, larger than life love experience for their family and for their friends and the people who they adopt in their communities as
oh,
sisters, and it's powerful. I mean, we
yes.
we've had I guess 2.5 years now of doing the shows, and we've had at least something like a dozen people, 12 men and women, who have confessed that being touched by the Sasquatch has brought them to tears. They're just so
Uh,
filled with love feeling that they just have had to cry, you know.
mm,
So that's why I'm saying, to me, there's connections between living in a place that has no judgment, that has no beliefs, that is just present, and that present is rooted in love.
mm,
I think it's a worthy topic. It's and not everybody has that.
yeah.
You're one of the what do you call it? The spokesperson for alternative reality that's rooted in love.
Mm. It feels like love. And I know love is a chemical reaction in the brain. And like you said, dogs have the same chemicals, the same dopamine, serotonin, the four chemicals that gives us this feeling of warmth and security and a place. They give us a temporary place to rest. Uh, but it's a chemical reaction, and my brain accepts that. But it lives. It's like a constant dopamine drip. Um, it's always there. I wake up in the morning with it and I go to sleep with it. It's a sweetness, that an openness, an unknowingness, a joyful anticipation of what's next. Sometimes I order stuff from Amazon, and when I hear the Amazon truck roll up, it's like the ice cream truck when I was a kid. It's play for me. Everything is play. I bake bread. I'm starting to learn how to bake bread, and constantly surprises me that sometimes it turns out and it's really good, and my wife enjoys it, and I enjoy it. I like the smell, and so many memories. My mom cooked on a wood stove and baked bread. And those things, all of those things is who I am. Millions of memories. You, again, you have become woven into my life, and I love that. Um, I love life. And I know my time, my days are numbered. I have, like I mentioned, quite a few conditions. If I get COVID, I will probably die.
7.2 million lifetimes. You got to understand.
Yeah,
I tell you,
maybe more.
yeah, who knows? That could be the first universe.
Yeah, yeah. Before hominids, I oh God, the history of hominids. There was a little species of humans that were like 3 foot tall, and they lived on a relatively large island. I don't remember where, but there was a large lizard, huge lizard, that could have eaten them. And I wonder about their life. And I wonder about Bushmen and Eskimos. I don't think Eskimo is a proper term anymore. Um, Northwest Indians are. I just wonder about everything. Everything fascinates me. Somebody will mention something about their childhood, and then I'll start thinking about that, and I'll maybe do some research on it. And oh my God, I don't have enough time to do research. So many things. I love talking with you. I love being with you. You are the most warm, gentle man. Um, you can see your own beauty, but I can.
You're a good liar.
No, I mean that.
Oh, lies becomes truth.
And it's true. I see you as walking, talking trillion cells of beauty. Um, oh, I just amazed.
If you're gonna form a government, people have a hard time conceiving of a government other than the one we have. And the
Uh,
one we have is our what we've got. We've absorbed into us the
mm,
pattern of governance, and that's the only one that we have reference to. But
truly.
if you're gonna form a new government, you have to have some kind of different references than what we got. And right now we got this outside pyramidal power structure, separation on top of separate. I got layers of separation.
Oh God, it's a
Layers
mess.
of division. That's our model. And but what happened is that we have ingested it. We've taken it in, and it
Mm,
becomes the fabric of our being.
truly.
So when we lay down at night, then that's what manifests for us. There is no other possibility other than that.
Yeah.
But this love that you're talking about, see, that's a new form of governance. That's not dependent on the George Bush uh, or the Bidens or anything. I mean,
Biden.
there's none of that really. I mean that that is governing you. It is the love of self and your 100 whatever 60 something trillion cells that you're most delighted in, and as long as they're happy, you know what I mean, you've accomplished the governance. You know what I mean? There's a governing there's a governing there of how do you say it? A gardening governing, where you pull the weeds of what bothers you and you pour water on what you want.
Yeah, I like to think, or the human brain likes to think it has control over its pseudo reality, but it doesn't. It's not a real world to start with, so it doesn't accept control. It's a movie, really. That emerges within the moment. It's not driven by everything that preceded it. Um, it's not destined. There's no such thing as destiny. It's ever emerging into this what is seen as the present, but there's no such thing as present either. But it's it's there's no such thing as choice. There's no such thing as an individual to have a choice. We're falling into a vast unknowableness. We can, after years, the falling becomes more like floating. You're floating along a river that sometimes there's a waterfall, like my stroke, or I have something called trigeminal neuralgia, which is also called a suicide headache. The pain is so great that people commit suicide. Um, with my help of my neurologist, it is under control. And I love him because of that. If I had to live in that pain, I think I would commit suicide. When it comes, I'm on the floor holding onto the carpet and making funny little sounds and my curled up in a ball. I can only, the people before the medicine that I'm taking had to live with that. And my heart goes out, breaks for them. My heart breaks for humans, the pain they go through, the broken-hearted, the tear tracks on their faces, the bloody shirts they have. I see their pain. I see their love. I see their resilience. I see their heroism. I just love humans. I love being a human. I know nothing about what it's about. I see us all as toddlers, bumping our heads sometimes, innocent, uh, beautiful.
Yeah, thank you for showing us your uh,
Mm,
radically accepted heart and feelings. This is not seen much in humanity the way that you can do it because you live closer to that open-heartedness than most.
mm,
That to me that we've kind of accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, and that is that you have to have you can't really have under you have to apples to apples and oranges to oranges, but you have to have something to compare when these people are having incredible experiences with an unknown being who remains invisible,
mm,
uh, and they have this longing in their hearts. They're touched. They're excited. They want to find out what this mystery, man.
mm.
Why are they hiding all the time,
Ah,
and why do they live in such small groups, and how can they live in the wild, in the snow, and in the heat, and how can they do that? There's great mystery, so much mystery, and to me, that's like a magical being.
mm,
And yet, when people actually become friends with them, they get what you describe as this unimaginable affection for humanity that the
mm.
Sasquatch is able to pull up. That they can pull up this and
Oh,
convey this to the people who are their family, their friends. And it's just really, to me, it's really was worth this whole show, just to have you talk about being in a reality where you can connect with your heart to almost every part of reality.
mm.
And I think that's important. Maybe it's okay if we just leave it like that.
Yeah,
Unless
yeah,
you want
sounds wonderful. Have you read Tuesday Lob Saying Rampa?
to who?
Tuesday Lob Saying Rampa?
No, does it hurt?
Well, he was a Westerner who went to Tibet, supposedly, and has 7 books about his Tibetan experience and talks very much like you do. He visits, in one of his books, he visits the valley of the Sasquatch and sees one. And what you talk about reminds me of that story. His belief structure is very much like your own. I think that this mysterious, when we plumb the depths of mystery, it's boundless. I just, what, it's an open-ended book confined only to our ability to objectify. That's the limit. That's the solid wall that we cannot get over. But I have enjoyed this talk. I hope I didn't occupy the time too much. I do that. I don't mean to. If I did, I apologize for that. But I couldn't help it. We have no choice in what comes out. But I think you're incredibly beautiful. I think it's easy for me to say I love you. I do that all the time. Um, it's almost, I never have been rebuffed. And it's the three easiest words to say.
Oh, you said this one thing on your group. What is it? Exploding rainbows.
Mhm.
You said this one thing where you said there was I don't know how you led up to it. You talked about this. You were talking to a man, and the man seemed like he was distracted. And then while you were talking to him, he got up and pulled out his sword and started whacking at the wall.
Yeah.
To which
I
I re-
love that one.
to which
Yeah,
I replied, to which I replied, "Kill them all,
kill them all. I saw that.
cut them up, stop them." And for some reason, for some reason, Facebook said that was going against community
Oh
standards.
God, yeah, the bastards.
I got 2 days in jail. I got out this morning just before. I got 2 days in jail for like I said, kill them all, kill their mother, kill their grandmothers,
Kill
kill
them.
their whole family. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Because that's what you would do if you have a demon. You kill
you
them,
kill
with a
them.
sword.
Yeah,
Christ,
yeah.
think I come in peace? I came with a sword, baby. I'm gonna put you against your mother and father, and you're gonna kill
Yeah,
them
kill them all.
because
Oh my God. Yeah,
because
I
you
got
have
2 days.
incorporated what is not you into you, and that what is not you doesn't feel good anymore. So cut the ties.
That yeah,
Not you.
I
It never
love
was
that.
you. None of that's you.
Yeah, of all the comments, I love that one the most. Kill them all. Um, I didn't see it disappear. I didn't go back. I got 2 days suspension for telling somebody I was going to kick their ass. He's a great big bodybuilder. He's solid muscle. Muji is his name, and he is just solid muscle. He's just, oh my God. So he and I have this thing going about I'm going to kick his ass when I see him, and so they took me off for 2 days for telling Moji is going to kick his ass. So I don't tell that anymore. Oh God. 2 days though. Yeah, we used to have free speech. Remember when we had free speech?
Have free speech. We used to have these search engines where you could find incredible things,
I know.
incredible things. And
Yeah,
now you all you can get is advertisements and sort of sterilized truth.
yeah, yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's a crazy world.
Yeah.
Uh hey.
That's why I say it has to be this new government because we can only there's people who have never been before Google
Mm,
before Google existed. So they can only reference Google. Well,
right.
we get to reference dictionaries and card catalogs,
Encyclopedias.
encyclopedias. You know what I mean? Which is a whole different game.
Truly, truly. I wonder what's going to happen 50 years from now if we're still here. Somebody said if we want to contact life in outer space, uh, there's a very short window between the time they develop weapons big enough to destroy themselves. So there's usually about 100 years between the time they evolve the ability to destroy themselves and they do. So you're going to have to contact them within that very small window. Oh my God. I think,
It's a wild world. Well, thank you so much
thank
for
you.
participating in my what was it, misidentification and mistake. It was good for me though. I felt I'm glad we had this talk.
I am too. I'm thrilled to meet you.
Yeah, I still don't know the whole ins and outs of this whole alternate reality that the some people who they call the Unity Consciousness crowd.
Yeah,
There seems
I
to be a lot of them, and they have little talks, and they have like all kinds of things. They get together and you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But how did you come about? Uh, reaching this kind of a state, or is it, or is one of those things like where you stubbed your toe and all of a sudden the whole world changed?
Well,
Got your fingers stuck in a car door. Ow! There is no such thing as reality. I don't exist.
um, if you look in rainbows in the files section, my story is in there, and it's just a page or two long, and it talks about how I searched for 50 years, and then one night I was laying in bed thinking that if things don't exist, how real am I, the holder of things? And the short version is everything started to spin, everything, and I was awake, but it just started to spin and into a vortex shape experience. And then I tried to pull back, and I heard a voice, not a voice, but I thought to myself, "You little chicken shit! Whole life you've waited for this, and now you pull back like a frightened little girl." And I used to say that it's what I thought. My dad shamed us by calling us girls if we cried. So that's what the thought said. So I let go after trying to hold on, and I went through a meat grinder type place beyond which objectification could not hold anything. And I woke up in the morning, I was crying softly. And I knew that this was it. I knew that this was Ramana's mind and Christ's mind and Buddha's mind. This was what they were trying to say. This is what they talked about that they couldn't say a word about because it's so simple and so beautiful. Just awareness of being aware. That's it. That's all there is to it. Knowing that nothing can be known, knowing not overcomplicating with that, but the simplicity of simply being aware is just incredible. It's a gift. Sight, sound, taste, it's all a mystery. Smell. We don't know how any of that works. We just cannot grasp anything by putting a name on it. But we can become life itself, looking at itself. Through us, the universe gets a brief glimpse of its own beauty, a tiny window uh, of rays that we can see, vibrations that we can hear. That's a tiny window that the universe, the magnificence of the universe, gets a glimpse of itself and how beautiful it is. The Grand Canyon, the Grand Teton. Oh my God, look at everywhere in the world. Patagonia, Jesus, God, it's so beautiful. The Tetons that knocked you down when you were a little boy, that beauty is everywhere. Men working on a road, uh, everything is so damn beautiful. Oh,
Yeah, I agree. And that's what you're describing is like there's like I've met uh, four enlightened men and one enlightened woman
uh,
in my life, and and these people, when you get face to face with these people, this one guy I was with him for 4 hours, and it was an American guy, and he changed my reality. And I didn't. It took me a few days to figure out that he changes the whole fabric of my being. And
wonderful.
there was no. He wasn't teaching. We were talking about food and going to this place or that place and normal. He
And
blew the transmission out of my car too. this energy was so powerful it blew all the seals out of my automatic transmission.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's like there's this enlightenment thing, which I think is a real phenomena. But it's the same kind of thing. I don't really, not really sure you reach it. So
Mm.
comes to you and it's like enfolds you and whatever.
Mm.
Anyway, so there's those guys, but then there's the people who have Kundalini, a Kundalini, which comes up from comes up from the energy from your pelvis and just goes and sweeps over your body. So there's enlightenment and there's a Kundalini, and there's a few others, but definitely this unity or beyond non-duality, whatever you want to call it. That's another of these tiers, these three pillars of possibility of experience. And there's not that there's more people that can talk about enlightenment and God realization and Kundalini. There's more of those people who, because they can kind of describe that. Of the people who are in non-duality kind of a state, because that really isn't easy to describe. It's more about describing what it's not than what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my. Rumi gets to a place where he says, "Oh, but hush, we can go no further." I think that's a good place to be.
All right, let's call this the end. Stick a fork in it. This little porky's done. Thank you so much for showing up and putting up with our mistakes, compounded errors.
I don't care about any of that. He was, like him, I've lost a lot of money too due to Uncle Joe. But I never really had it anyway. We've been fortunate. My wife is incredibly good at business, and we were able to become very comfortable in our retirement. So we've lost a lot of money too, but I never look to see how much because I don't really care.
I just installed the belief that all the money in the world is mine.
Yeah.
And then you can use it. I'm sorry that you lost some of my money thinking it was yours.
Yeah.
But, you can have any of the money that I have. It's okay. I let everybody have it.
Yeah.
It's that I don't really have very much pressure when it comes to money.
That's nice. That's good. Yeah, I don't either. It's just a simple.
I set up the federal government to be able to give me a little stipend.
Well, there you go.
Money. Yeah, so they'll take care of the accounting part of it.
Yeah, well, good for you. Yes. Okay, then. I will see you maybe in rainbows.
Yeah, I'll see you in rainbows. So thanks a lot, everybody, for showing up. And sorry we didn't talk enough about Sasquatch, but if you could catch the flavor, there was definitely.
I did.
We need to have that more. There has to be more than what we've just already got. There has to be more in order to feel.
Okay, then. I will see you in rainbows.
I love the snow. Don't you know? I want my old blade. All the bugs coming down. Taking my phone. Hot and high, hot and high, hot and high. For the tummy, oh my, love a big old plate of pork and beef. Goody, 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 goody. Love it, love it, love it. In the tummy, love baby, love high, love ooh, love why. I love me some pork and wings. Don't you know you gotta need that feed. You got to have some pork and beer. Pork and beer. I'm gonna holler pork and beer. Yo, mashed potato. Oh, have it now, don't wait for later. Hot and high. Oh, why? You only need a plate of pork and beer. walking, baby.